Everyone. Today, I want to talk about how the 2028 election is shaping up. We're about, I believe, we're 11 months since Joe Biden dropped out, I believe, getting close to a year. And I believe we're like 4 or 5-ish months into Trump's presidency. How long has Trump been in office? Let's see. I don't know, it's like 150, 160 days, somewhere around there. And I guess, it's a good time to make a 2028 video. Getting close on 6 months in office, I believe, half a year. And for today's Democrats, I have Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore being the Democratic ticket. And the reason I have that is, yes, Gavin Newsom is the most popular option on betting markets, but I believe uh, Pete Buttigieg just feels more authentic and looks less politician-y. I feel like Gavin Newsom's the establishment, and Pete Buttigieg still is a little bit of the establishment, I believe a little bit by now, but he's not establishment enough to where people would like it if he won. You know, like someone like AOC, sure, she's popular, but the establishment would not fund her at all. I do think the establishment would fund Pete Buttigieg, and Pete Buttigieg can definitely um just get financial backing, kind of like Gavin Newsom. And I think Pete Buttigieg would beat Gavin Newsom in some debates. I do think there's a lot to criticize Gavin Newsom about in California, but and also with Trump's approval rating, it used to be pretty close to each other, or like Trump's approval or disapproval rating, but now he's disapproved by around 3.8%. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the video. So we'll go ahead and start with the safe states. And for the Republicans, I have J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio for the Republican ticket. J.D. Vance probably going to win this Republican primary no matter what. VP for Trump. And Marco Rubio is the Secretary of State for Trump. And I'm pretty sure J.D. Vance likes Marco Rubio a good amount. So we're going to get with the safe states for Republicans, which Ohio, of course, is safe in this scenario because J.D. Vance is VP. And Marco Rubio is a former senator from Florida. So Marco Rubio for sure makes Florida safe for the Republican in this scenario. And Texas could be safe in this scenario, but I think I'm going to have it go Republicans by around 9%. Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore, of course, we're going to take all of these. Usual Democratic safe states besides New Jersey. New Jersey is usually safe, but in the 2024 election, we saw it go Kamala by only 6%, which was pretty shocking. I don't think I saw any polls that were even talking about New Jersey being in the realm of 5%, somewhere around there. But I do think New Jersey will be likely and go Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore by around 7 to 8%. I also think Wes Moore has a pretty good backing that could campaign for him in New Jersey. Of course, Wes Moore's governor of Maryland, and maybe because the states are close, that helps him, but I don't really think so. Of course, New Jersey would be likely. I also think Minnesota will go to Minnesota only went to Kamala by around 4%, but I think Minnesota starts to bounce back because in the 2020 election, 2020 election map, or 2020 election map, CNN, New York Times makes me pay for the 2020 election map, and I don't want to do that. Biden was able to win it by nearly 8%. I think we're going to see around somewhere in the middle between 6 and 7% Democrats in Minnesota. We then go New Mexico, which there were some talks of New Mexico shifting to the right after the 2024 election. Because we go here, New Mexico only voted for Kamala by around 6%, which was very shocking to Joe Biden, who won it by around 11%. But I think New Mexico will stay in that 6% radius, which is and maybe it goes down to 5 or 6%, but I think it'll stay about 6%. Especially with Trump's a lot of deportations, which I do think could maybe hurt his Hispanic vote, or the Republicans' Hispanic vote, which could, and New Mexico has the largest population of Hispanics in the country. So that could definitely boost Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore to a 7% victory in New Mexico, which I think is that's what I'm going to predict right now. I do want to move over to Virginia, which is another Democratic state that Kamala was way too close to losing. Kamala only won it by around 6%, where Biden was able to win it, I believe, around double digits. Yeah, by around 10%. So that's a 4% margin loss. Um, I do think I do think Pete Buttigieg and Westmore will take it by around 7 or 8%, somewhere around there, reinforcing Virginia back into the Democratic sphere. And now we're down to like the true swing states. Oh, also, this district of Maine right here, of course, will go to the Republicans as we look over here. Yeah, one electoral vote. As we see, Republicans won that district of Maine both years, I believe. Yeah, two electoral votes went to Kamala, the rest went to Trump. So yeah. So first, like true swing state I want to start off with is Arizona. Arizona has only voted for the Democrats once in 40 years, I believe, and that was in the 2020 election, where Biden only won it by around 11,000 votes. Very close. Trump was very close to winning it. So I will have, and even in a and then in a Republican up year, Republicans won it by around 5%. Republicans do very good in the general election for Arizona because even though a Democratic governor won Arizona in 2020, or yeah, 2022, and a Democratic senator won Arizona in 2024, this or last year, Republicans just dominate during the general election. So I do think Arizona will continue to shift to the right. I believe they'll go to Republicans by around 6%. But I do take off a point just because JD Vance isn't Trump, and Trump is pretty charismatic, or maybe not charismatic, but definitely has like this Trump energy on the campaign trail. And I don't know if JD Vance can really match that energy, but also have the same policies as Trump. So I either think JD Vance will have to move farther to the center, or or have to match Donald Trump's energy. I then want to move it to Nevada, which Trump won by 4%. I do think Republicans are gaining Nevada, and I'm going to have Nevada go to JD Vance and Marco Rubio by around 3%, maybe 2%, somewhere around there. Now we're going to move down to Georgia, which I do think Georgia is shifting to the left maybe a little bit. Kamala only lost it by 2% when Biden won it by less than 0.3%. So this is one of the smaller changes in the 2020-2024 election. Of course, Biden only won it by around 10,000 votes, but I'm going to give it to JD. But before I do that, as we see, Georgia was one of the only states that have a good amount of counties shift to the left. So I do think overall, over the next few years, Georgia will continue to shift to the left. And I believe this gives the win to Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore, taking Georgia by only by around like 0.3, 0.5%. We'll move up to North Carolina, which I do believe Republicans will take. Even in 2020, it was the only swing state that Trump won. So I think Republicans just win North Carolina no matter what. And I think they'll win it by maybe around 2 or 3%, somewhere around there. Now we'll move up to the big three: Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So I do want to talk about Pennsylvania first, which basically will decide this election. So Pennsylvania has a extremely popular Democratic governor, Josh Shapiro, and he won in 2022, I believe. Yeah, I do. By a good amount of margin, but of course the Republicans didn't run the best candidate. Trump won by around 1.3%, and Biden won by around, what was that? 1.2%, if I'm doing my math right. Um, Republicans are definitely gaining in Pennsylvania, but Trump's approval rating is not on the right track. In order for me to give the Republicans Pennsylvania, it's good. Trump has to keep his approval rating under around -2%. I do think Trump will become more unpopular, kind of like how he did in 2020 as his term goes on. Now, of course, I can't predict the future, but I'm pretty sure Trump's going to get more unpopular, and that will lead me to give Pennsylvania to Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore. Of course, Wes Moore from being from Maryland, maybe some recency, maybe just being close to Pennsylvania could help him, or maybe Pete Buttigieg picks Josh Shapiro as his VP. Pete Buttigieg and Josh Shapiro could win Pennsylvania. So I do think Pennsylvania does go to Democrats. I do want to say Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, they never haven't voted together as a block since the 1988 election, I believe, or 1992 election, I believe. So we then move into Michigan, which I do believe Michigan is shifting to the right a little bit. Michigan voted for Trump by around, hold on, quick math, let me think. Over 1%. Michigan voted more Republican than Wisconsin did. So I'll go ahead and say Wisconsin will be going Democratic. And I believe Republicans can do really good with all the steel jobs that are in Michigan. And more at the like manufacturing base, I do think Republicans do really good with blue collar workers. So I will be giving Michigan to JD Vance and Marco Rubio by around 1%. Same with Wisconsin going Democrats, going Pete Buttigieg by around 1%. I could totally see a world where Pete Buttigieg wins Michigan. I also see a world where JD Vance and Marco Rubio win all three of these states. But I do have Wisconsin and Pennsylvania going to Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore, and JD Vance and Marco Rubio taking Michigan. We then move up to New Hampshire, which is the last swing state, or swing-ish state, maybe. It went to Kamala by around 3% in the 2024 election, and it went to Biden by, whew, I didn't know it went to Biden by that much. What is that, 5, 6, 7%? So I definitely do think Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore win it, and they take it by around, I think they'll take it by around 7%, somewhere around there, get back to Biden numbers. Now, I could absolutely see a world where JD Vance and Marco Rubio take Georgia and win this election, but right now I'm going to give it to Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore. If you disagree with anything, please tell me in the comments. Also, I'm running out of video ideas, so if you want to give me video ideas in the comments, please tell me. And also, if you made it this far, might as well subscribe and leave me a like. Really helps with the algorithm. Anyway, peace out, and see y'all next time.